3 county officials were standing on the shoulder of the road while a tracked bulldozer idled less than 10 feet from my survey pins. The HOA president was smiling like this was still her project. Then the fire marshal raised one hand and said, "Stop work," and the deputy's pen started moving. When the process server placed a thick packet into her manicured hands, her smile finally cracked, and in that moment, everything she tried to steal from me came crashing down. I bought my land because it was quiet. That sounds simple, but it mattered more to me than anything else at the time. I wanted honest land, steep foothills, scrub oak wind moving through tall grass, the kind of place that didn't care who you were or what you did for a living. Just dirt rock sky. No gates, no committees, no one telling you how high your fence could be or what color your house had to wear. The parcel sat just outside a glossy subdivision called Silver Ridge Estates. Big homes, perfect lawns, decorative stone signs at the entrance. They had an HOA. I didn't. My land was literally the edge of their map, and I learned pretty quickly that some people don't like edges. They don't like boundaries that don't bend for them. The HOA president's name was Karen Reynolds. I didn't know much about her at first, just that she'd been president for years, that people either avoided her or repeated her words like scripture, and that she absolutely hated the fact that I didn't answer to her. I wasn't part of her kingdom. I didn't pay dues. I didn't show up to meetings. And that to her felt like an insult that needed correcting. She didn't start with threats. That would have been too obvious. She started with concern. One Monday morning, an email hit my inbox. The subject line read, "Community Fire Safety Coordination." Polite, reasonable. The kind of thing you don't ignore because wildfire is a real issue where we live. Inside was a friendly message about protecting homes, about shared responsibility, about working together for the good of everyone. Attached was a map. It looked professional, clean lines, labels, shaded areas. And right there in thick red markings was a proposed fuel break corridor that swallowed a long strip of my hillside. My property line was treated like it was optional, like it was a suggestion. I stared at it for a long time. I zoomed in. I zoomed out. I pulled up my own survey. The red line was absolutely on my land. I replied with one sentence, "My parcel is not part of your HOA. Do not plan or perform any work on my property." No emotion, no explanation, just a boundary. Then I saved the email. Full headers, timestamps. I dropped it into a folder on my computer and named it something I never thought I'd actually need, Karen Record. 2 days later, she escalated, but not to me. She escalated to the crowd. Karen posted in the HOA's private group about unmanaged brush creating a wildfire hazard. She included a photo taken from the back fence line of the subdivision. My hillside sat in the background, framed just right to look ominous, like a warning poster. Her goal wasn't safety, it was narrative. She wanted neighbors talking, worried, angry. She wanted community pressure she could later point to and say I had no choice. One of those neighbors did something she didn't expect. He texted me a screenshot of the post, Karen's name, the timestamp, the comments already rolling in. I saved it. I saved the link. I saved the comment count because I already understood something. Karen was counting on posts can be edited, and people's memories are short when someone wants to rewrite history. That same neighbor sent me another photo too. Karen's own backyard. Lumber stacked high, brush piled up, timestamp visible. Her standards always seem to apply in one direction. Friday brought a certified letter. Signature required. Inside was HOA letterhead declaring my parcel subject to emergency bylaws. It warned of cost recovery if I didn't clear vegetation by the end of the week. Fear wrapped in stationery. They even listed the wrong lot number. Close enough to scare, wrong enough to prove they were guessing. I photographed the envelope. I kept the green USPS stub. I printed the tracking page showing delivery time. All of it went into the folder. That should have been the ceiling. That should have been where a reasonable person stops. Karen wasn't reasonable. Late Thursday night, my title monitoring service sent me an alert. A notice had been recorded against my property at the county clerk's office. Silver Ridge Estates, HOA. Notice of non-compliance. That one hit hard. This wasn't gossip or letters anymore. This was my title, my ownership being dirtied on paper. A recorded document, something that looks official to anyone who hasn't fought one before. I remember sitting there in the dark, rereading the alert, feeling that slow cold spread in my chest. This was the moment I started questioning myself. Was I being stubborn? Was this worth it? Would it be easier to just give them what they wanted and move on? That's the thing about bullies with clipboards. They don't have to touch you to make you feel small. The next morning, I drove to the clerk's office. I requested the instrument number. I paid for a certified copy. The stamp mattered. The receipt mattered. I emailed Karen one sentence. You recorded a false notice against my title. No adjectives, no anger, just something written for a judge's eyes. Paper wasn't enough for her. Dirt was. Saturday morning at 6:18 a.m., a low rumble shook my windows. I stepped onto my back deck and saw a tracked bulldozer crawling along an HOA access path like it owned the sunrise. 3 workers in reflective vests walked ahead of it, pointing at the ground. Karen's SUV was parked on the public shoulder. She stood beside it with an HOA binder tucked under her arm, watching like a supervisor. She wasn't holding a shovel. Workers do the trespass. Karen does the authorizing. My stomach dropped. For a second, I honestly felt frozen. This was the moment where everything I'd worried about became real. They weren't asking. They weren't waiting. They were just taking. I grabbed my phone and hit record. I framed my survey pins and the bright flagging tape in the foreground, then panned to the bulldozer blade dropping into my soil. I said the date and time out loud. I said, "You're on private property. Stop work." The foreman didn't answer me. He looked at Karen. That told me everything. I stayed calm. I kept recording. My neighbor stepped onto his porch and started filming too. I asked him if he'd write a witness statement. He nodded. I called the sheriff's non-emergency line and reported active trespass and property damage in progress. Dispatch gave me an incident number. I repeated it on camera and screenshot my call log with the time and duration. Karen raised her phone and said just loud enough to carry, "Keep going. He's trying to bully you." She meant it as control. I heard it as evidence. By the time the deputy arrived, the corridor was already a raw scar across my hillside. I met him with my deed and a county parcel map. He looked at the pins, the cut line, the machine's position. Then he asked the foreman, who told him to cross that line. The foreman's eyes flicked toward Karen. HOA, Ms. Reynolds. Karen stayed on the shoulder, performing innocence. "Officer, this is emergency mitigation. He's obstructing fire safety." The deputy asked if she had a county permit or fire district authorization to work on private property outside the HOA. She paused, just half the beat too long. "It's under HOA authority," she said. That afternoon, she escalated again. An emergency abatement notice appeared taped to my fence, claiming I was non-cooperative and warning equipment would return Monday morning. I photographed it with location services on. I emailed the county code office one question. "Is this your notice?" The reply came back the next morning. It was not. That email was the turning point. Up until then, I'd been reacting, defending, trying to keep my ground from being taken inch by inch. That message flipped something in me. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't the problem. They were impersonating authority. My surveyor restaked the boundary and signed an affidavit. The fire district emailed confirming they had authorized no work on my parcel. I pulled the 8111 records. No locate ticket had ever been filed. My attorney filed for a temporary restraining order and emergency injunction. We demanded removal of the wrongful title notice and a corrective release. We scheduled an on-site meeting and invited the deputy and the fire marshal because wildfire mitigation is their lane, not Karen's imagination. Karen showed up confident. 2 board members, 3 workers. Like numbers would make her right. She started talking before anyone asked. "This is a misunderstanding. We're protecting lives." He's spinning it into a personal feud. I didn't argue. I handed the fire marshal the county email. I handed the deputy the rental company's telematics showing the bulldozer's GPS crossing my property line. Evidence doesn't argue back. Karen leaned on her favorite word, authority. The fire marshal raised his hand. "Stop work." The bulldozer shut down instantly. The deputy issued a trespass warning. "Leave and do not return." That's when the process server stepped forward. The packet landed in Karen's hands. TRO application. Complaint. Notice of hearing. Proof of service. Her smile cracked. Not slowly. all at once. She'd come for a victory lap and got served in front of her board, her workers, and the officials she tried to cosplay. The judge granted the order within 48 hours. Stop meant stop. No HOA-directed work anywhere near my boundary. Mandatory preservation of communications. No contact outside counsel. The county required a corrective release. Fees were reimbursed. Attorney's costs awarded. The board removed Karen as president pending audit. My hillside still carried a scar, but it was stabilized properly this time, reseated under my surveyor's affidavit. My title monitor went quiet. That's what justice looks like. Not cinematic, just finished. And the lesson is simple. When an HOA tries to take your land, you don't win by yelling, you win by keeping receipts.